she won the U.S. Senate seat from the state, becoming the first Indian American to achieve this feat.
And certainly you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
California's Kamala Harris is the first Indian American U.S. senator.
And California's Attorney General Kamala Harris has scripted history as she won the U.S. Senate seat from the state, becoming the first Indian American to achieve this feat.
Straight up, you talk out two sides of your neck and we don't know what you're talking about. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kamala Harris who's trying to shut me the fuck up. Because I told her straight up that I feel like she is disingenuous in her messaging. And she said to me, well, you're being too critical. And I said, I am a voter. I'm supposed to be critical. That's my job. And I want to see actions. She said, well, how am I supposed to talk about racism in America without calling Americans racist? I said, well, first of all, there are many racist Americans. But there's also policy, legislation, institution, and systems that are racist that need to be addressed. They need to be addressed. And if you're not going to do that in an actualized way and in a loud, bold way, people will never really know where you're coming from. Well, you can't tell me how I feel. So I'm not telling you how you feel. I'm telling you how you sound. I'm telling you how you sound. Okay? The truth is that you should always question your source and what are their intentions. And what you all need to know is that I don't need to do any of this. I don't need to talk about any of this. I don't seek fame. I don't seek wealth. I have dual citizenship. I don't even have to be here. I don't need any of this. I'm a gifted painter. I could literally just leave all of this behind and just sell paintings. And the people that you should listen to are people who literally gain nothing. They gain nothing from the efforts that they do to give everything. Pull up footage from over a year ago that could possibly undermine the validity of her being president. Why would someone who's for Kamala Harris do that when the person that they're talking about isn't even expressing that sentiment in the present? But y'all never, the people who support shit like this, their cognitive thinking doesn't.
What black people hopes to be our soon-to-be president. I'm going to tell you right now, she wants you to know what she's going to do about inflation. We're going to end it on this note. Let's hear her wonderful policy when they ask her. And mind you, she's the vice president right the fuck now. So what you doing about inflation, bitch? Let's hear what she had to say.
With inflation. All right, thank you. Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up. And families and individuals are dealing with the realities of the bread costs more, the gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously, very seriously. And we know from the history of this issue in the United States that when you see these prices go up, it has a direct impact on the quality of life for all people in our country. So it's a big issue and we take it seriously. And it is a priority there.
This is what Kamala has to say.
For you, as the first candidate for Vice President of the United States of South Asian descent.
Our dear friend will be the first Indian American vice president in the history of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
As many of you know, generations of my family come from India. My mother was born and raised in India, and I have family members who live in India today.
Asian Americans are the fastest growing population here in North Carolina, and among that, Indian Americans are driving a lot of that growth right here in the Triangle, drawn to the tech, science, and medical fields. Now, some are hoping to see Kamala Harris make history as the first South Asian in the highest office in the country.
Senator Kamala Harris will be the first person of Indian heritage to be nominated for vice president on a major party ticket.
The first Indian American woman to be nominated as a vice presidential candidate in America.
Never in a million years I would have thought that they were going to charge me for Sell's murder. I never talked to no detective, no police officer, no DA, nobody.
Just arrested and then charged.
Arrested and charged. That's it.
Was the first time you saw Kamala Harris in person the day that the verdict was issued?
She showed up at the two most pivotal times in this first trial, and me being convicted and me being sentenced. She wanted to be present for a celebration of a conviction.
That's what it felt like, celebration?
A celebration, that's what it felt like. The reactions I get when I tell people my story is, they say it's the worst nightmare. You know, it's the closest thing to dying.
Jamal, I'm going to read you a quote real quick. The job of a progressive prosecutor is to look out for those overlooked, to speak up for those whose voices aren't being heard, to see and address the causes of crime, not just their consequences, and to shine a light on the inequality and unfairness that lead to injustice. It is to recognize that not everyone needs punishment, that what many need, quite obviously, is help. Kamala Harris wrote that in her book, The Truths We Hold. Does that sound consistent with the kind of with the brand of justice that you saw administered by offices that she was running?
It definitely sounds like Kamala Harris right now as a senator. But at the time of her being the head district attorney of San Francisco, that is almost polar opposite of what I felt and what our community felt in San Francisco.
So Jamal, where are we?
Right now we are in Sunnydale Projects, where I was born and raised at. This isn't a place that you'll want to bring outsiders into, and a place that they don't want to go. This ain't a place that feels comfortable. It feels like you might get robbed, you might get shot.
The police were keeping files on you, and your brothers, and other people who were living in Sunnydale from a very young age.
They already had me labeled because I'm in this community as a potential gang member, potential killer, potential drug dealer. You gotta wake up to the fact that, you know, things are set up against us.
There is a conspiracy.
Yes.
It happened to you.
Exactly.
It's proven in court.
Absolutely. Places like this have been developed for predominantly African-American people to not be able to succeed beyond it.
Yeah. What did you know about Kamala Harris? What did you know about San Francisco having a black DA?
Nobody in the hood ever worried or focused on the DA position in general, but people did focus on it just a tad bit, that it was black, and feeling like, okay, this black lady in office, Kamala Harris, she was gonna understand where we come from, you know, and have more of a sympathetic way of prosecuting people that come from our communities who have been plagued with no opportunities. This is Hunter's Point, where these different projects and communities used to really war with each other.
Jamal, in July 2007, what's going on in your life at that point?
I had recently just came off of I Love New York, and also that's when my friend Sel Kuka got killed.
more than a year goes by and no one's been arrested in the case. You hadn't even been questioned.
Haven't even been questioned, no. The police was still, trying to get a conviction by all means necessary. When I was arrested for it, the community knew I didn't do it. And it was here we go again. See, this is why we don't trust, law enforcement, because it gets to a point where somebody who didn't do something goes to jail for it. I don't have no history of crime. What's up, boy? I have a history of being around in the community, but that doesn't mean that I'm a suspect. I'm like, oh man, I'll be out within 72 hours. They're gonna figure this out. They're gonna clear this up.
And then when you found out what the evidence was that they supposedly had you on, there wasn't much there. Can you describe what it was?
They had a woman saying that she seen me kill Sale. The second witness that they had really wasn't a witness at all. She said anything that the police officers wanted her to say, and they said that her recollection of the events was extremely credible. So that's what ultimately got the arrest warrant.
The District Attorney of San Francisco, Kamala Harris, appeared in the courtroom during your trial twice.
Yeah, the two times that Kamala Harris showed up to my trial was when I got convicted, and also when they laid down the sentencing.
When you saw her on the day that the verdict was handed down, did you take that as a bad sign?
It felt to me that she was well aware about my case, and she was there to set her presence, almost take pride in getting a conviction. When I put in my appeal, the people that's fighting against my appeal to keep the conviction is the Attorney General office. I learned it reading, their reply to my appeal, and you see Kamala Harris' name at the bottom. And now it's starting to feel a little personal.
When you win the $13.1 million, it's a massive settlement. Did you feel like that was enough?
There's not an amount that could get back those 7 years. 6.5 years that I spent in prison. But instead of me coming home feeling like I was a victim, I wanted to prove that I'm a survivor, and I will not let my story go unheard. I'm not necessarily saying I'm looking for an apology, but some acknowledgement from her that she could have messed up would be, of course, that'd be huge. You could have made some mistakes. You could have missed some things. For me, it was a big miss. I had life in prison. I've met people in prison that was wrongfully convicted. I want my story to be out to provoke reform ultimately. Beyond that, I want to be able to be who I want to be. I'm an actor,
Concern was, if we don't take seriously the need that we as a society should have to ensure that our children are receiving the benefit of an education, we will pay the price later, and those kids will pay the price, which is that they'll end up in the criminal justice system. And that's what I wanted to avoid. I wanted to avoid a situation where those children end up being criminalized, some for their entire lifetime, because we failed them in the earliest stages. And so part of what we wanted to do, and what we did successfully, when I looked into this issue, John, I realized that there was no distinction in the education code between truancy, meaning 3 or 4 unexcused absences, and what we were seeing, which is kids missing as much as 80 days of a 180-day school year. So we changed the law to say, no, we need to understand, if you think of it as in phases, as, yellow light, red light situation is the chronic truancy. And we actually got it in the education code. So now it says chronic truancy, 10% or more of the school year missed, because we had to understand institutionally that this is a red light warning. And we're failing these kids if we're not paying attention to the fact that there are kids who are chronically truant and what that will mean for their lives, or just our failure as a system to let them achieve their capacity.
So do you think that the 2011 law shouldn't have allowed some of these DAs to arrest
because my
parents?
regret is that I have now heard stories that where in some jurisdictions DAs have criminalized the parents.
Right.
And I regret that that has happened, and that the thought that anything that I did could have led to that, because that certainly was not the intention. Never was the intention.
I
Never was
don't
the intention.
think so. The parents civil rights activists?
Yeah, they were active. They were. I mean, they were. My mother was actually a breast cancer researcher, but they met when they were active in civil rights movement. Yeah, they. Maya and I, my sister, we joke we grew up surrounded by a bunch of adults who spent full time marching and shouting.
Yeah, and see, that's what bugs me out about the criticism you receive, because it's like your parents were civil rights activists. You were born in Oakland. Oakland's a black ass town.
Oh yeah.
You went to Howard University. So why do people say things like she's pandering to black people?
They don't know me. And I, listen, I think that also, some folks have a limited vision of who we are as black people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on them. That's not on us.
What do you say to
their appreciation for the diaspora, for the diversity, for the beauty in the diversity of who we are as black people? So I'm not going to spend my time trying to educate people about who black people are.
And they're going to say that's one of them times you pandering to black people, but she's black.
No, but I'm black.
Yes.
And I'm proud of being black.
Absolutely.
And I was born black. I will die black. And I'm proud of being black. And I'm not going to make any excuses for anybody because they don't understand. Better appreciation.
Out of a coconut tree? You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Hello.
I want to talk to you. Okay, I can first.
They want to know
You said
We're there after two.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Hello.
I want to talk to you. Okay, I can first.
They want to know
You said
We're there after two.